just to double check with people, like consensus here is that like Circle is wildly overvalued relative to Coin, right? Do you think that's fair?
The hope is Coin should get pulled up, but then you have to bank on it's narratives, right? It's memes. Like the same thing with everything. The meme of Circle is so much cleaner than the meme of Coinbase, right? Because yes, like if like logically you should look at Circle and go, look, if you think this thing is worth this and it's giving away 50+% of its revenue to Coinbase for distribution, and it's going to continue to do that, then anyone who puts that bid on Circle should logically like value Coinbase at 50% of that plus all the other things that it does. It's like you should conceivably value it much, much higher than it currently is. But the question is, like, it's messy, right? You have to dig into the financials to understand that. It's like Coinbase isn't just this play on stablecoins, even though it has a significant amount of revenue from a pure stablecoin play. So you have to wonder if the market's actually going to catch up there.
Question out loud. Funky, your hand is raised. Maybe I definitely want to hear you come in on this, but also maybe to ask this question, just kind of came to me now. Do you think this is pricing in as, it's literally called USDC coin. Sorry, no, it's USD coin. Is this, I'm trying to find a funny way to say this. It's not funny, is it? But is this like the US coin? Like obviously all dollars are the coin of the US, right? However, is this like the coin of choice? Is this the one that is government backed, government approved? It's clear, like there's always been a bit of a divide between USDC and USDT, right? There's always been that divide. USDT seen as the one that's more
there's a little bit of like regulatory arbitrage here. Yes,
South
so like,
America or China. So like, is this the US like bidding this thing because this is the one that is?
It is the US coin,
unofficially stamped, the US coin. Funky, curious for your thoughts there. Am I going down? Am I making any sense? What do you think?
GM, yes, I think you make perfect sense. And I was just going to say, back in 2020, I actually made the prediction that I said by 2025, USDC will be the de facto CBDC of the United States of America because it already has all the rails built out.
That's what I'm thinking the bet is. That's the only way I can explain this. Sorry, carry on. I keep interrupting.
No. And I'm like Brad, right? In the sense that I don't understand. My youngest brother, who is probably the furthest removed from all of crypto and anybody in my family, reached out to me and said, "Did you get in that Circle IPO?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And and it's kind of one of these things where I just, like Brad, I just feel burned because I'm like, it makes no sense to me. Like, I just cannot wrap my head around the fact that why is it getting such a valuation when almost all the money, well, half of its money, as Brett pointed out, is being driven to coin. So I don't understand that. But I did want to say just real quick, getting back to the OKX and the IPO stuff, something I neglected to mention in last week's Blockchain Association membership meeting, and this is very important, was that the Treasury Department, this is really interesting, the US Treasury Department has been actively asking Blockchain Association members and their government relations specialists to help repatriate foundations that have been offshored for years. They're trying to lure companies back to the United States and developers. They specifically said, if you know members who are at foundations and or developers, see what you can do to try and bring them back to the United States. This is a request from the U.S. Treasury Department. This is super, super interesting that they're asking the Blockchain Association members to actually reach out and do that kind of outreach on their behalf.
That's amazing.
Yes. Very, very interesting. I'm kind of aligned there. That's something that's been on my mind. Right, that's super interesting. Good to see. Signal is with us today. Signal, you have your hand raised. Welcome to the show. Good to have you back with us. How are you doing? And what is your thought here?
Yeah, afternoon, B-Check. Good to see you guys. I think the Circle debate is so interesting because a lot of people in this space think about Circle in terms of USDC. That's where I park my money when I want some stables on the side, and then I want to invest in something later. And I think a lot of people don't really understand how the banking sector is going to be using this asset And that is why it's like, it is not a meme stock at all. Stable coins are completely going to transform how the banking network speed, the banking network's cost, the transparency, the agility, the compliance around everything. And so what you should be comparing Circle to is Visa. Already they have come quite close in terms of transaction volume. I think Circle came close to what Visa's volume was in 2012. But I don't see it as a sort of Visa or Circle. I actually see those two worlds commingling because Visa know their lunch is being eaten. But really, you need to think about USDC from an institutional perspective, because that is what is so interesting. So you think about a Turkish company that needs exposure to dollars today, and it's Saturday or Sunday. They will go from Turkish lira into US dollars on a Saturday via stablecoins, because their platform provider, an institution in finance, will enable that transaction. And I think that is what a lot of people are not thinking about when they think about Circle. So I think personally that there's more value to come into the future. I invested as soon as I possibly could when it IPO'd 2 weeks ago. And I think the Genius Act has obviously helped the propulsion and the momentum behind that stock. But I think people need to start thinking about Circle from an institutional perspective and not so much from a retail perspective.
Very interesting, Sig. Thanks for that. Do you think then it is still undervalued here, or how do you think it relates to Visa? Do you think it goes much higher? What's your kind of thought to the next 3 to 6 to 12 months?
So I never like sort of picking numbers because I'm very bad at being able to pick specific numbers, but I do like to think of things very much from a macro perspective and like, what is it that Circle is trying to do? And the closest comparison I can say is Visa. And I think those two worlds will come together. I think you're going to see a lot of partnerships and stronger partnerships going forward in terms of what Visa is doing and what stablecoins are doing, or MasterCard is doing. And also, as well, there's no other issuer on the platform. There's no other issuer on the stock market that will give you this type of exposure to stablecoins. Everyone's talking about Tether, but Circle and Tether are apples and oranges. If you look at them operationally, Tether might not want to even IPO. They are a fast, lean, small company. Circle is a behemoth. It's a speedboat versus a super tank. So I think for that reason, it becomes very interesting to be in Circle as an investment, but you also have to think, will there be other players coming to the market that could potentially take Circle share? Who are they? And will they even want to IPO? So that's how I'm thinking at this from a macro perspective. For now, I am going to keep my exposure. But if Tether ever came forward and said, yes, we want to go into stablecoins, I would dump my Circle and go into Tether. But I don't think Tether is going to do that. So I'm very happy to be in Circle.
And by
Tron
that, you
will,
mean,
though.
Yeah, by that you mean Tether going public, right?
Yes, by that I mean Tether going public. Yeah.
Sure.
But
okay.
I know Tron. I know Tron might do it, but again, I'm thinking about this from an institutional perspective. So, is a super large asset manager or a really large bank going to use Tron? And are their competitors going to use it? USDC, that is correct, but for Tron right now, that doesn't exist. Not that it doesn't exist, but it's not being used to the same extent that Circle is.
I mean, Tron is the de facto Tether chain, right? I'm saying that's what the rationale is, right? It's like if you can't get exposure directly to Tether, but if you want exposure to Tether, and 60% of all stablecoin transfers in USDT take place on Tron IPOing, and I know with Plasma coming, like that dilutes a little bit, but like I think that's why Justin Sun is trying to IPO ASAP, because he sees kind of the writing on the wall with all these other chains that are Tether backed, Tether endorsed coming to market. And if he IPOs now, I know for a fact there are people that see Tron exposure as a de facto Tether exposure, because that's basically the only way you can get to it. And it will take time for like Plasma and Stable and all those other ones to get spun up. But like that's the rationale there.